Well, good morning, everybody. You know, the reason most of you are here is for the flyover. This is the one time of the year when we do open up the dome for a flyover. Had a little trouble with our timing this morning with the pilots, so they came over a little bit early, but we did capture it on video, so please enjoy this. Beautiful.
Woo! Yes.
That's the sound of freedom, my friends, right there. So we're going to start today off with a hymn, and I hope that you will sing along with us. As I was walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me an endless skyway. I saw below me in this valley. This land was made for you and me. I've roamed and rambled and followed my footsteps through the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts, and all around me a voice was calling. It said this land was made for you and me. And this land is your land, and this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream water, this land was made for you and me. The sun came shining, and I was strolling through the wheat fields waving, and the dust clouds rolling, and a song was chanting as the fog was lifting. It said this land was made for you and me. And this land is your land, and this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream water, this land was made for you and me. Take it again. As I was walking, I saw a signpost, and on one side it said no trespassing, but on the other side didn't say nothing. I guess that side was made for you and me. And this land is your land, and this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream water, this land was made for you and me. For this land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream water, this land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me. You know this land was made for you and me.
Barry Ebert bringing us the Woody Guthrie today. Thank you, Barry. We're so blessed to have this talented group of musicians today. Thank you, Jennifer Burnett, Randy Chavez, Bijou Barbosa, Mike Marlier, Rob Lowe, Dr. Kent Rattenstrauss, and our music director, Tom Litch. So grateful for them. So grateful for you on this busy travel weekend. Thanks for taking time to be in this sanctuary, and we're going to party afterwards on our plaza with the Nacho Men. And this is our Spirit of Independence service. It's very sacred and important to us. So whether you consider yourself a patriot or someone who perhaps has a dysfunctional relationship with your country, we hope this is an opportunity to renew faith, to create space for healing within ourselves, and to form a vision for our country that it needs right now to live up to, one that reflects our values of inclusivity, of unity, and of justice. So we're so glad that you're here. All I need to know the sacredness of our country, as you take a look at our altar there, is to think of all of the many individuals who've given their life in service to this country, be it through the armed forces or as a teacher or police officer, as whatever it may be. I was talking to one of our congregants, Leslie, yesterday, and she's a direct descendant of Nathan Hale, who was hung as part of the American Revolution, and he's quoted to have said that his only regret was that he could only give his life for his country once. And it speaks to that heart of service for all of us. And so as we move into a time of a different song this morning, a little bit of silence and prayer, I just bring to mind and to heart all of those who've given their lives for the cause of freedom and justice in our country. I want to take a moment to bring to heart Beth Fleck, a beloved practitioner, longtime practitioner here at Mile High Church, who recently made her transition. We'll honor her again when we have a picture so we can see her beautiful face. And also just want to honor the passing of Alan Arkin, who was a friend of Mile High Church, the great actor. He taught here. We just honor his legacy and send love to all who love him, especially his wife, Suzanne, this morning. But let us get centered here in this place of sanctuary, whether you're here in the Teal building or you're at home. We co-create this sanctuary together to deepen and to grow.
Behold these truths, that's how it all began. A statement of poetic passion, a promise of a new homeland for life, for everyone equally, in the way that God intended, that all would be free. But oh, Miss Liberty, you know the cost is dear. So many caught in the gun sights, filled with pride and fear. They held these truths when everyone else was gone, gave their lives in sacred honor for us to stand upon. Let freedom ring, but it ain't free. There must be hunger for responsibility. The price was paid for you and me. What will we do? Who will we be? We hold these truths, each of us in our own way. The culture is inside us now, and in a peace for this we pray the light, the everlasting mystery. May we never lose our courage, may our hearts and minds stay free. But oh, Miss Liberty, you know the cost is dear. In this time of great confusion, filled with pride and fear, we'll hold these truths when everything else is gone. our lives in sacred honor for our children to stand on. Let freedom reign, but it ain't free. There must be hunger for responsibility. The price was paid for you and me. What will we do? Who will we be? The price was paid for you and me. What will we do? Who will we be?
So we just take a moment to pause, to go within, and to join together in prayer. And as we take a deep breath, gently close our eyes, we just focus on the awareness that God is all there is. And whether we are here in the sanctuary, whether we are watching online, what we know is that we are all connected, one mind, one heart. We are this beautiful community of Mile High Church. And how wonderful it is to live in this amazing state of Colorado, where we look at those Rocky Mountains, we think of Pikes Peak that influenced America the Beautiful. And we see the hand of God everywhere we look. We also feel that hand of God upon our heart, knowing that we are, each of us, these amazing, beautiful, divine emanations of spirit. And how grateful I am for Mile High Church, where we welcome everyone, and we see everyone as unique, as beautiful, as worthy. What a wonderful community as we uplift each other and thereby uplifting the world. And I'm so grateful for the freedom to worship, whether it be here at Mile High Church or in a temple or a mosque or an ashram or simply by a beautiful, peaceful forest stream. What I know is that we all come together to stand for good. And once we embody that good and that peace and that abundance, then we can hold that space for the world and see it manifest all around us. And so today I am so grateful. Grateful for this community, grateful for our love, and most of all, grateful for each and every one of you. And so as I release these words into that amazing alchemy of love and law, I know that all is well because all is God. And we simply let that be. And so it is.
Been given by those who came before. The dream of a nation where freedom would endure. The work and prayers of centuries has brought us to this day. What shall be our legacy? What will our children say? Let them say of me, I was one who believed in sharing the blessings received. Let me know in my heart when my days are through. America, America, I gave my best to you. For each generation, from the plains to distant shores, with the gifts that we were given, we're determined to leave more. Battles fought together, acts of conscience fought alone. These are the seeds from which America has grown. Let them say of me, I was one who believed in sharing the blessings I received. Let me know in my heart when my days are through. America, America, I gave my best to you. For those who think they have nothing to share, who fear in their hearts there is no hero there, know each quiet act of dignity is that which fortifies the soul of a nation that will never die. Let them say of me, I was one who believed in sharing the blessings I received. Let me know in my heart when my days are through. America, America, I gave my best to you. America, I gave my best to you.
Our first reading today is from Thomas Jefferson. All will bear in mind this sacred principle, that though the will of the majority is in all cases to prevail, that the will to be rightful must be reasonable, that the minority possesses their equal rights, which equal law must protect, and to violate would be oppression. Let us then, fellow citizen, unite with one heart and one mind. Let us restore to social intercourse that harmony and affection without which liberty and even life itself are but dreary things. Every difference of opinion is not a difference of principle. And from Condoleezza Rice, when the world looks to America, they look to us because we are the most successful economic and political experiment in human history. That is the true basis of American exceptionalism. You see, the essence of America, what really unites us, is not nationality or ethnicity or religion. It's an idea, and what an idea it is, that you can come from humble circumstances and you can do great things, that it does not matter where you come from, it matters where you are going.
She's up before the sun on the run. Another dollar, another day, another cup of coffee. Thank you, Lord, for giving me one more. She still leans on her dreams, but it seems sometimes she's the only one who still believes. But life is hard, so she takes it on with an American heart. And it beats like a drum down in New Orleans, sings like a Motown melody. It dreams like California, bigger than the Texas sky. It bleeds, it scars, but it shines when times get hard. And you can't break an American heart. From the small town Friday night lights to the Broadway neon burning up a ride, we're all the same. Yeah, it's in our veins, a spirit that you can't keep down, a fire inside that'll never burn out if you are the owner of an American heart. And it beats like a drum down in New Orleans, sings like a Motown melody. It dreams like California, bigger than the Texas sky. It bleeds, it scars, but it shines when times get hard. And you can't break an American heart. An American heart. 'Cause it beats like a drum down in New Orleans, sings like a Motown melody. It dreams like California, bigger than the Texas sky. It bleeds, it scars, but it shines when times get hard. And you can't break, you can't break an American heart. An American heart.
Jennifer Burnett, Mile High Band. Let's hear it for Elena, who did our reading today as well. So grateful for her time and her family's time today. So again, party after service on the plaza today. If you're watching online, you've got a little time to get over here. And just a reminder that Dan Harris, meditation and mindfulness teacher, former anchor on ABC News, he's going to be at Mile High Friday, November 3rd. Today's the last day of our early bird. You can go to our event center or you can go online and purchase a ticket. We've sold almost 500 and we haven't really opened this event up to outside of Mile High yet. So it's not only a discount, but it might be a good chance to make sure you have a ticket for the event. So we're really looking forward to that. America is a spiritual idea. America is a spiritual idea. It's the only country I'm aware of that's based upon a prayer, an affirmative prayer for liberty, for justice, and for happiness. This is in alignment with the teachings of our founder here, the author of The Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes, who I believe on page 1 of The Science of Mind says, "The divine plan is one of freedom. Bondage is not God ordained. Freedom is the birthright of every living soul." Freedom is the birthright of every living soul. I don't know if there's a more important belief to hold for ourselves and humanity. Science of Mind is an American religion. It was founded right here in the United States, yet even more importantly, it's an American spirituality. We believe that the divine destiny of each and every human being is freedom. We are all about learning to live in freedom. And we as individuals, just like our country, stumble, sometimes greatly, along the way. We reject ourselves. We impede upon progress out of fear and control. We sometimes discriminate and push other people down out of a sense of survival to try and keep or lift ourselves up. But if we stay true to this divine birthright called freedom, not only for ourselves as citizens, but for people all over the world, it is my belief that we will pull through. Thomas Ricks, great journalist and historian, he has a great definition of America. He said, "America is a moving target, a goal that must always be pursued but never quite reached. America is a moving target, a goal that must always be pursued but never quite reached." There's a tension in our country. You felt it? You noticed it? One way of defining it is there's a group of Americans who only want to define America by her promise. And then there's another group of Americans who only want to define America by her failure to meet those promises. It's my belief that it's an incomplete perspective unless we're willing to tie those two understandings together to realize that even in our greatest of failures, we have had the tenacity to bring forth greater understandings of freedom, and that those continue to be before us as citizens today. To realize freedom not only in our own country, but in our own lives. America is a spiritual idea. It's something sacred to me. I believe that America is related to something infinite, that it is connected with the ability to achieve incredible possibilities for ourselves and for the world. I believe that the institutions of our country are sacred, if only in honor of our ancestors who have lived and breathed and died to uphold and to improve them over time. And I believe that we as Americans are at our best when we dedicate ourselves to a cause greater than our own individual desires and needs, to make a difference for our citizens and for people all over the world. It saddens me a little bit to say, for example, that I believe our institutions are sacred, because it's a controversial topic today. Josh, how do you balance that there's divine guidance in our country when I find so many of our politicians unintelligible? Right? But the thing to remember is that what makes our institutions sacred is that they outlast any individual. I believe that 3 branches of our government are sacred. I believe that our police and our fire departments are sacred. I believe that our teachers and our schools are sacred, that our doctors and our nurses are sacred. Even more so when these institutions are desacralized, we should be even more outraged because we love and care for them so much that we bring a discernment and a tough love to help reform and uplift them. To believe in our institutions as sacred doesn't mean that we have to trust all of the people who are inherent in them. In fact, it is the American way to distrust that, to bring that discernment and that skepticism and that strong sense of upholding and reforming in our country that helps make us who we are. As Jefferson once wrote, "I have sworn upon the altar of God eternal hostility against every form of tyranny over the mind of man." This should be true for our country. This should be true in our own lives. The freedom to think for ourselves and to know that when we do that, it can bring forth genius and bring forth immense possibility and goodwill. What makes America a spiritual idea, what makes it so great to me, isn't as much the beautiful lands and geography, isn't so much even the incredible laws in our Constitution and those that continue to need improving. I know there's some we don't like to. But for me, American character has been defined by American characters. That there are incredible individuals who are the demonstration of the prayer for liberty and justice and happiness. That there have been incredible products of that prayer that have helped lead us to an ever-evolving and unfolding and embodiment of freedom for you and for me. George Washington, when he was 24 years old, he wrote in his diary that I will dedicate myself to reputation and honor. And he went on to say, I will not dedicate myself to the achievement of power. This is when he was 24 years old. If power happens or leadership happens for me, so be it, but I will dedicate myself to character. What an important aspect of the American character, that we put practicing our virtues and our values above control, above taking power, in order to support a greater legacy for all of us. All of these American characters, as unique as they are, all have one thing in common: an immense optimism balanced with an incredible pragmatism. Immense optimism, incredible pragmatism. It's the ability to look at the challenges in our country dead in the face and not turn away from them, while at the same time holding within to bringing forth what should be, what can be. The word for me is tenacity. American characters who've practiced immense tenacity. And thus the title of the message today, American Tenacity, the making of our American character. And I'm just going to touch upon 3 of these characters today. And the first is Frederick Douglass, who, in my mind, along with Abraham Lincoln, serve as the second forefathers to the second birth of our nation after the Emancipation Proclamation. Douglass, the son of a slave and the son of a slave owner, received the opportunity to get to read, and his genius was unleashed. Literacy can unleash genius. And he became a minister, and he became a speaker, and he became a writer, and he traveled the globe and became one of the most famous people in the world. And at the height of the Civil War, he became Abraham Lincoln's most trusted and important advisor. And Douglass would say of Lincoln that he was the greatest man that he ever met, but that didn't mean that Lincoln didn't need a lot of help, especially around the race issue. He had quite a bit of ignorance there because he had come to the belief that even though he wanted to abolish slavery, that whites and blacks could not live together. And he called his advisors together, including Douglas, and he said, I believe what we have to do is create a colony for the blacks to go to because we can't live at one together. And it was Douglas, almost single-handedly, who argued and convinced him otherwise. At the dawning of the Emancipation Proclamation, Douglas would share, out of a full heart and sacred emotion, I congratulate you, my friends and fellow citizens, on the high and hopeful condition of the cause of human freedom and the cause of our common country. For those two causes are now one and inseparable, and now stand or fall together. It is difficult for us who have toiled so long and hard to believe that this event so stupendous, so far-reaching and glorious is even now at the door. It surpasses our most enthusiastic hopes that we live at such a time and are likely to witness the downfall, at least the legal downfall, of slavery in America. It is a moment for joy, thanksgiving, and praise. And on the day that the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, Douglas and Lincoln would shake hands, and Douglas said, thank you, sir, that was a sacred effort. I love that term. Sacred effort. What is your sacred effort in your life? What is your sacred effort to improve your life or the life of the people you love? What is your sacred effort to uplift your country and your fellow citizens, both in the United States and in the world? American tenacity. Incredible characters who I believe were the demonstration of the beginning of our nation's prayer for freedom, for justice, and for happiness. Another character, a real character, mind you, was Walt Whitman, a contemporary of Lincoln's and Douglas's. He was a mystical Quaker, very entrepreneurial spirit, and a writer, but he kept those writings hidden. And he once got to see Ralph Waldo Emerson, our spiritual forefather here of our faith, speak. And that impressed him so much that he started reading Emerson's essays, and there was a particular essay called The Poet. And The Poet was an essay that was calling forth the American voice. We're saying we believe in freedom, justice, happiness. We're saying we are one with the divine creator. What is the voice? We need that voice in our country. And this essay so inspired Whitman that he started gathering all of these leaves of grass, all of these cut-ups of his writings. And he created several series of poems entitled Leaves of Grass that is by most still referred to as the greatest book of poetry in American history. And in his famous poem, The Song of My Soul, he began to articulate that voice that you will hear in our teaching and in our prayers today. He shares, I hear and behold God in every object, yet I understand God not in the least. Why should I wish to see God better than this day? I see something of God each hour of the 24 and each moment then in the faces of men and women I see, and in my own face in the glass. I find letters from God dropped in the street, and everyone is signed by God's name. In the Civil War, Whitman would dedicate himself to the service of his country by becoming a nurse. He nursed countless, hundreds and hundreds of soldiers, wounded soldiers from the North and the South. And this would ultimately break his body. It would take, in many ways, his spirits. And yet he always maintained a strong faith in the purpose and in the destiny of his country. And he would share, and thou, America, for the scheme's culmination, its thought and its reality, for these, not for thyself, thou hast arrived. Thou too surround us all, embracing, carrying, welcoming all. Thou too, by pathways broad and new, to the ideal tendest. Be hard to talk like that all the time. American tenacity, the ability to step right into the fire. No rose-colored glasses, to look right into the problems of the country and yet to have the faith and the audacity to believe that something better should and will come forth. Without these characters as vessels to bring that forth, the America we know today and the America we want to become will not have or will not take place. One of the most tenacious characters of the 20th century was Eleanor Roosevelt, mother of 6 kids, married to a man with polio who couldn't walk, who just happened to become president of the United States and just happened to want to serve more than a couple terms. A champion not only for women's rights, but served as an important member of the NAACP, dedicated her life in the long run to human rights along the world. You know, they say a woman has never officially been president, but that doesn't mean that on many occasions, powerful women have not been the great leaders of our nation in most trying times. Eleanor Roosevelt took it upon herself and mentored her husband in the philosophy of New Thought, recognizing during the Great Depression that what America needed wasn't just food, but a transformation of consciousness, a greater level of hope, a greater receptivity to prosperity, a greater hope no matter what. She carried with her at all times a poem by Henry Van Dyke called Thoughts Are Things. Written in the late 1800s, I bet you it inspired a fellow named Ernest Holmes. It goes like this: I hold it true that thoughts are things. They're endowed with bodies and breath and wings, and that we send them forth to fill the world with good results or ill. That which we call our secret thought speeds forth to earth's remotest spot, leaving its blessings or its woes like tracks behind it as it goes. We build our future thought by thought, for good or ill, yet know it not. Yet so the universe was wrought. Thought is another name for fate. Choose then thy destiny and wait, for love brings love, and hate brings hate. Roosevelt would go on to serve as ambassador to the United Nations, where she achieved the Declaration of Human Rights for all countries. At her funeral, Adlai Stevenson, the senator, would say she would rather light candles than curse the darkness, and her glow warmed the world. How about you? Would you rather light a candle or curse the darkness? Can you be that candle that brings warmth to those who are suffering, for those that are struggling, and for those who've realized a level of happiness and prosperity in their lives? The light of a candle does not discriminate. It shines for all. And it embodies perhaps the motto of the great state of South Carolina: while I breathe, I hope. While I breathe, I hope. That's American tenacity. That's American character. 3 little bits of advice as we continue to move through a challenging time in our country. Number 1, practice a tough love for your country, not a staunch cynicism. Practice a tough love for your country, not a staunch cynicism. Any of us in this country cannot take the out of being on the outside looking in on your country as long as you are in it and a part of it. What our country needs isn't our undying affection and unconditional love. What it needs is our tenacity of discernment, of skepticism, of care, of speaking up respectfully, of being a champion for our point of view, and yet for listening, for God's sake, to other people. You know, that's the other kind of sacred duty, I think, of being in this teaching. We don't just teach spiritual principles here. We teach how to communicate with one another. And that communication, I would argue, is the thing that's lacking most in our nation. The ability to listen and to be open, just maybe, to changing our minds a little bit. To honor the heart of good intentions, and yet at the same time to bring such strength and tenacity and vigor to bringing forth the America in your heart that you want to be. Not just for you, but for the people you love. Second, back to this great lesson from Washington. I don't think Lao Tzu in the Tao Te Ching could have put it better. Choose character over power. Choose character over power. I'm willing to bet for many of us, this very day, there's something that's causing you a little bit of stress, some tension within yourself, a challenging circumstance that you want to work out a particular way, a position or role that you want for yourself. And I would just invite us to consider that maybe there is this friction between a desire for power and a trust in character that might be asking yourself, how much of my character am I willing to sacrifice in order to get this thing that I want to take place? The message from Washington, always choose character over power. Embody your virtues, your authenticity, your honesty, your tough love, and your affectionate love. Embrace and embody your values and practice them, and let the rest take care of itself. One of the best forms of American tenacity. Lastly, be willing to serve a cause greater than yourself. America and Americans are at our best when we serve causes greater than ourselves. And I would say in this post-pandemic, whatever we want to call it, world, that one of the last things to come online is the sense of service. The sense of being a part of a community and no longer isolated. The part of giving yourself in service to your local community, your state, or your federal government. To be willing to be a part of something greater than just the small few that some of us surround ourselves with. It'll be July 4th, 2023 on Tuesday. And on July 4th, 2024, it is quite certain that former President Jimmy Carter will be dead. He's in hospice care at his home in Georgia. And although many of us will debate the effectiveness of his presidency, I have never heard anyone challenge the notion that there has been no post-president who has made a bigger impact in the world than Jimmy Carter has, through dedicating his life to service, through his Carter Foundation helping to bring democracy to places that never knew it would be possible to have it, to help cure diseases like guinea worm that was killing millions and millions of people and now only kills a handful. A wonderful dedication of heart and service, continuing to teach Sunday school at his church as recently as a year ago. And Carter was asked about his sense of service once, and he shared the following. I have one life and one chance to make it count for something. I'm free to choose what that something is, and the something I've chosen is my faith. Now my faith goes beyond theology and religion and requires considerable work and effort. My faith demands this is not optional. My faith demands that I do whatever I can, wherever I can, whenever I can, for as long as I can, with whatever I have to try and make a difference. There is a sacred effort underway in this experiment called America, in this divine experience, an experiment called humanity. It is the recognition that each and every individual is born to live in freedom, in the glory of their spirit and in the tenacity of their uniqueness. We are each, conscious of it or not, a part of that sacred effort. Can you articulate your part to play in the conversation, in the deeds and the actions, in the charity and even in the scolding of those who do not live up to your version of America? Can we embrace our place in the sacred effort and allow it to do the work in us to help us find the courage and the tenacity to be an American character that helps shape an ever-evolving and renewed character for our nation? Because it needs it. It needs that renewed character to get back to the work of implementing and weaving God and Spirit's freedom into this human life and this glorious planet, hurtling through space with one another. Honoring that sacred effort as we move into a time of prayer, invite any of our prayer practitioners to join us in standing wherever they are. Giving thanks for the freedom in our own life, may we also create that mental equivalent to expand, to ask ourselves, how might I live in even greater freedom in this day and in the days to come? And for our nation, never a fixed product, but always a fluid experiment. How might I expand my vision to include more, so that this prayer of freedom, justice, and happiness can be greater realized not only in my life, but in the life of my fellow citizens of America and of planet Earth? This sacred effort that works in our hearts, that gives us that sense of majesty, that leaves us in awe at the glory of life, even in the thick of the pain and the challenges of it. We give birth to hope in our thoughts and our deeds. We give birth to harmony through our listening and contemplation. We give birth to an ever-renewed nation when we realize it is that much more powerful with our heart and our mind and our willingness to share the talents that we have been blessed with. We give thanks for it. We let the highest possible destiny for our nation come forth through us and through one another. And so it is. Amen.
Wide awake while the world is sound asleep, too afraid of what might show up while you're dreaming. Nobody sees you. Nobody would believe you. Every day you try to pick up all the pieces, all the memories, they somehow never leave you. Nobody sees you. Nobody would believe you.
God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you. But there's a kind of love that God only knows.
God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows the real you. 'Cause there's a kind of love that God only knows. There's a kind of love there's a kind of love. You keep a cover over every single secret, so afraid of when one saw you they would leave. Somebody sees you. Somebody would never leave you.
God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows what's killing you. But there's a kind of love that God only knows.
God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows. misunderstood and the ones to blame. Maybe we could start over, we could start over, we could start over. Oh, for the lonely, for the ashamed, the misunderstood and the ones to blame. Maybe we could start over, we could start over, we could start over.
There's a kind of love that God only knows.
God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows the real you. Because there's a kind of love that God only knows. There's a what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows the real you. Because there's a kind of love that God only knows. There's a kind of love. There's a kind of love. There's a kind of love. There's a kind of love.
God only knows where to find you. God only knows how to break through. God only knows the real you. 'Cause there's a kind of love that God only knows.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tom, Jennifer, Mile High Band. Randy, it's great to have you with us as always. Gratefully moving into our time of offering today. I'm so grateful to be a part of a church and philosophy that seeks to bring a whole perspective even to those seeming separated places in life. And so grateful for that. So grateful for all your contributions. We always like to do a little bit of honoring generally in this part of the service. And I'd like to take a moment to call Dr. Michelle out here while she's walking. I will remind you that she found Mile High Church when she was 13 years old. She was the receptionist here. She's been a lead minister since 2019. And she got her ministerial license and went out into the world and ministered for 20 years, mostly in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I remember 10 years ago, there's a picture of you at the Welcome to Colorado sign, and you officially became a minister of Mile High Church. And we're celebrating this weekend the 10-year anniversary of that. We are so grateful for you.
Much. Thank you. Thank you.
I told her she had to give a speech.
Yeah. I don't want to give a speech. I just want to say thank you that 10 years have truly flown, and it means that you're having a good time and you're living your life fully and completely with people that you love and adore. So I'm so happy to be here and to serve and to grow and to live this life that we get to live together. So happy anniversary to us all. Yeah.
We are so grateful for you. Thank you, Michelle. So with that, we just invite you to bless your gifts. We are so grateful for all the ways that you give online, sending a recurring payment through your bank, putting a little money in there if you got some in your pocket, an offering plate. It all makes a huge difference, and we so appreciate you investing in this spiritual community. So with that, let us take our offering, physically or metaphorically, and bless it together as we say our offering affirmation. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. And so it is.
You see, Billy got picked on at school for things he couldn't change. He tried his best to play it cool, but in the 7th grade, you either fit right in or you don't fit. It's just the cold hard truth. I wish that I'd have been the friend that Billy never knew. I think it's time to come together. You and I can make a change. Maybe we can make the difference, make the world a better place. Look around and love somebody. We've been hateful long enough. Let the good Lord reunite us till this country that we love's undivided. Yep. You either go to church or you're gonna go to hell. Get a job and work or you're gonna go to jail. I just kinda wish we didn't think like that. Why's it gotta be all white or all black? And when we gonna learn to see through someone else's eyes.
That's right.
And when we're gonna learn to walk in someone else's eyes, I think it's time to come together. You and I can make a change. Maybe we can make the difference. See the world a better place. Look around and love somebody. We've been hateful long enough. Let the good Lord reunite us to this country that we love, undivided. Oh yeah, undivided. Oh yeah. Well, we're all the same to God, no matter what. We get His love. I'm tired of looking left and right, so I'm just looking up. I think it's time to come together. You and I can make a change. Maybe we can make the difference, make the world a better place. Look around and love somebody. We've been hateful long enough. Let the good Lord reunite us to this country that we love, undivided. Oh yeah, undivided. Oh yeah, you either go to church or you're gonna go to hell. Get a job at work or you're gonna go to jail. I just kinda wish we didn't think like that. Why's it gotta be all white or all black?
Oh, so much wonderful goodness here today. We've got a chance to thank our musicians, and I heard some of you applauding. How about that, Reverend Josh Reeves today? Great message, huh? Yeah. Wonderful job. And if you're brand new to our community, we want to welcome you officially. What I've noticed about first-time guests is they either fall into the category of coming in and going, I'm home, you're my people, or I'm not so sure. And for the not so sure ones, it might take a few times coming to the community or watching online to get a sense of whether this is your spiritual community or not. Whatever kind of first-time guest you are, we welcome you. We're so grateful for you. We hope that you could come to the Welcome Center today and see the good people there, pick up some literature, learn more about us, and ask some questions if you'd like, meet some friends. If you're watching online, you can go to the website, and there are some I'm New buttons there where you can find some information about our community. And we're so grateful that you're here. And our practitioner prayer partners are here for all of us today, whether it's your first time or your millionth time. They're wearing those beautiful purple sashes, and I often tell people, just go get a prayer whether you think you need one or not today, all right? Go up, let them pray you out as you head home. There's nothing like leaving community feeling lifted and uplifted with prayer, so please do that.
Thank you. And we've got a new members class coming up next week, too.
Sorry, yes.
Didn't forget. No,
Yeah,
flow.
thank you. It's partnership. We have a new members class coming up. And so if you are seeking to join the church formally, or you're in that curious place about who we are, a new members class might be a really great way to meet new people, meet some ministers, learn more about our church from someone in the class. We have an online class on the 9th, Sunday the 9th at 11:30 that you can sign into Zoom and watch. And we have an in-person class Monday night, the 10th at 6:30 over in the community center. And at the end of the class, then you can make a decision about whether you'd like to join or not. But it's a great way to get connected.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. And speaking of service, Reverend Jackie, our Make a Difference ministry, it's time for school supply drive.
Yes, time for school supply. The 9th, the 16th, and the 23rd, we will be collecting school supplies. We have, if you are here in the room, we have lists of what supplies we need. We share this with the Action Center. They serve about 5,000 students, so it really helps support them. And I want to say, if you're bringing a backpack, don't fill it, because we just have to empty it because they have a filling. The only other thing I want to say is, for those online and those who don't want to shop, go to the website and you can shop on Amazon, and all your gifts, all your supplies will come into the office, and we'll make sure they get taken care of.
Thank you and your team. I appreciate the glue and the crayon out there in the lobby today.
They'll be here for the 10 o'clock.
They'll move around. So after service, we got food trucks out there. We've got games, and then we've got the Nacho Men. I think they'll start around 11:30, 11:45. So let's have a great time celebrating our independence together. Michelle will be out there with. Did you bring dancing shoes? She did. Yes. So we're going to close our service today with a song of prayer. Our incredible Jennifer is going to sing America the Beautiful. So if you'd like to stand and rise for that, we invite you to join us.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains, majesty above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed His grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for patriot's dream that sees beyond the years. The alabaster cities gleam undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed His grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. America, America, God shed His grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to
I think it's time to come together. You and I can make the change. Maybe we can make the difference. See the world a better place. Look around and love somebody. We've been hateful long enough. Let the good Lord reunite us to this country that we love. Undivided. Oh yeah. Undivided. Oh yeah. Well, we're all the same to God, no matter what. We get His love. I'm tired of looking left and right, and I'm just looking up. I think it's time to come together. You and I can make a change. Maybe we can make the difference, make the go to hell. Give a job for work or you're gonna go to jail. I just kinda wish we didn't think like that. Why's it gotta be all white or all black?